Good evening. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in for another episode of The Conversation. As always, I am your host for the evening, Roger Franco. This next episode of The Conversation you're about to see, not only are we providing information in regard to the topic of generational wealth and how credit repair is related to that, the individual that I have on the show, who's the guest, a gentleman by the name of Brian Gaffney, I think he tells a very inspirational story. He is a credit repair specialist, but the intro of the show, he talks about his history, all the pitfalls that he went through as a young person that a lot of us have gone through in terms of finances and essentially just finding ourselves. So he talks a little bit about that, and we sort of connect the dots later on in the show as far as credit repair and how that plays into generational wealth and the things that we all need to pay attention to that we don't have a lot of information or knowledge about. So definitely interesting conversation. Stay tuned for that. As I said, the guest for the evening is Mr. Brian Gaffney. He's a very relatable individual. He is, just like your neighbor next door. And I think his story is very relatable. So again, stay tuned for the conversation with Mr. Brian Gaffney and myself. Thank you. Good evening. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in for another episode of The Conversation. I am your host for the evening, Mr. Roger A. Franco. And as I've mentioned on other previous shows that we've done, one of the purposes of doing this show, The Conversation, is to be able to provide a platform for information sharing. As we've mentioned before, we realize and understand that our communities lack insight into certain things. One of the other shows that previously I've done was on creating generational wealth and the importance of that. So that first show we did, we touched on real estate and investing and whatnot. But for this show, we're also going to discuss credit repair and the importance of that and how that plays a major part in creating generational wealth. And as always, I have the subject matter expert in the building with us today on The Conversation, Mr. Brian Gaffney. Thank you, sir, for joining me today. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me, Raj.
Of course. So I met Brian about a month ago at a networking event. Actually, it was a meeting, 500 Men Making a Difference, community-based organization that's heavily involved in doing community activities and, basically uplifting our community. So that's where I met Brian. We went around the room and everyone sort of introduced themselves and what they were there for and what they were looking to get out of the experience. And after hearing Brian speak, and he told us a little bit about what he does as far as, credit repair, and he has his own business and whatnot, I definitely wanted to talk to him. And one of the other things that I thought was very interesting was that he's a very relatable kind of person. He's sort of like the guy next door. And I also thought, who better to have come join me for the conversation than the guy next door. So normally what I like to do at this time, Brian, is to give a little intro and background on the person as to why you're here. So if you can, tell us a little bit about your background and what you're currently doing and how you got involved in it.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Raj. My name is Brian Gaffney, like you said, and I'm a bus operator for New York City Transit. I've been working with New York City Transit for 20 years now.
Okay.
I am also a real estate investor, and I am also a credit repair consultant.
Okay.
Now, I like to tell the full story, which is, me growing up in Bed-Stuy, me, living in a middle-class neighborhood, good parents, brownstone, and didn't realize anything. I thought life was perfect. We grew up in the era where it was Bed-Stuy, that the negative connotation, do or die.
Right.
For those people who can remember, who can remember those days. Brownsville. All of these negative connotations of things being done to you. But that's not the life I experienced or I walked. I grew up in a family of five. I had 2 sisters, 2 brothers. I was the youngest.
Okay.
So, being the youngest had some advantages, I didn't have to do much.
Of course.
Everything was kind of handed to me.
Right.
And that's where I believe some of the problems happen because I didn't develop work ethic. I didn't learn skills or survival tactics. I was taken care of. But you don't realize, you think that was to my advantage.
Right.
But now as an older man, I'm 50 years old now, but as an older man, I realized those were the worst things that could have happened. You know, they weren't taught, you know. And my family came from the South. So in the South, you know, it were many of us. We had big families because traditionally in the South, you know, families worked in the fields. So 8, 9, this was very common. And parents typically didn't kick you out of the home. They build a room for you.
Right. Interesting.
Before you were asked to leave. You know, it's just not because, you know, because you're 19 or you're 21. No, when you're ready. You know, but people didn't realize, I didn't realize, and it's just very common. You want to take care of your kid, but taking care of them, meaning giving them principles, giving them learning tools, giving them the right understanding of finances, giving them the right understanding of being independent. These are things that you kind of think kids would pick up.
Right.
But it was wrong. You know, some of the things my parents taught me and told me were absolutely right. And some of the things my parents taught me and told me were absolutely wrong. But, you know, as a child, you don't know. Mom says, eat the green beans, you eat the green beans.
Right.
Dad says, don't spend all your money in the same store. So I'll 50 cents here, 50 cents there.
Right.
You know, you don't understand the principles, you know, but now as an adult and after chaos, you know, because, you know, and we're just talking openly.
Sure.
You learn through wisdom, or you can learn through chaos. Sometimes you learn because you see it, and then it just it becomes knowledge to you. And other times you fall on hard times, or you fall on a situation where you have to make a decision that you know nothing about, and then that's what gives you your resolve.
Right.
You know, so a lot of who I've become was because of disappointment and chaos and me just sensing and feeling that something was wrong based on some of the wisdom that I was acquiring. You know, so I know this is a long introduction, but you know,
it's important. It's important.
You know, just the whole story, because you know, and I mentioned to you before that I was a D1 athlete. I played basketball full scholarship for Long Island University downtown. The Blackbirds, go Blackbirds, you know, go Blackbirds. And just to add some of that also, I'll give you the background on that. I wasn't a great student. It wasn't because I couldn't. It wasn't because I just didn't have the why. I went to school so I could remain on the basketball team.
Right, that was your why.
That was my why. When the season was over, I didn't make the educational connection. Graduating, it seemed like everybody was doing the same thing. I didn't see much inspiration from my neighborhood. My older brothers and sisters, my two older sisters, they went to local colleges, York and I think LaGuardia. And my brother didn't go to college. You know, I saw him, I pretty much followed him. He played ball in August Martin High School. So I wanted to be like my older brother. My father was, you know, he was a factory worker, which back in the industrial days, most people worked at factories and worked for other people. So I figured that's what I was going to do. That's what I was going to be. You know, one of the things that you learn in school, they say when you're young, what do you want to be when you grow up? You know, so you look around. What can I be?
Right.
You know, what can I be? Should I be a fireman, a police officer? I'd be a teacher. You know, then you have the top three. You know, a lawyer, a doctor, or you know. So you can only think. Then here goes the principles. This is when and how, and it remains to make sense. Things start to make sense to me in my life because the principles. I'm starting to see and look for the principles. And one principle that kind of helped me change, and it still does, is you can only think to the level you've been exposed to. My parents only exposed me to what they knew. I can't hold them responsible.
Right.
I never missed a meal. I never went without. I had Bill Blass. I had Wallabies. I had the La Tigra. I had Nike Dunks. I had Puma with the stripe, with the fat laces. Everything that we had, I had. And then when I started playing basketball, I got some gifts. You know, we want a T-shirt with a number on it, man. That was good. Right, you know, I got two. I got two. I got a T-6 and a 12. All right. You know, and then I had neighborhood notoriety. I had some respect. As a kid, the monetary things didn't mean anything. You just needed to be accepted. I didn't want to excel or needed to. I just wanted to be accepted. We all want to be loved. Right. You know, so I had I had the things. So I didn't realize any problems. I didn't see any problems financially. But you can only grow or think to the level you've been exposed to. I said that because it was me thinking, what do I want to be when I grow up? I didn't know. I didn't want to be a cop. I didn't want to be a teacher. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I just drifted.
Right. I
just moved on. I just was going through. I knew I liked basketball. I didn't see myself going to the pros.
Really?
Nah, that was never a dream of mine. My dream was to get to college. I had no idea what I wanted to do after college. And my father would say to me, in the knowledge that he had, because we talked about investing, because I had heard it, and I see the newspaper when you get to the part where you see the NASDAQ. I didn't know I didn't know how to read the language. I didn't know what it was, and he didn't know either. But just in the simplistic language that he understood, using principle, he said, if you're going to invest, invest in things that you use every day. And laundry detergent, soda, and video games, which he was right. Video games have not. I used to play Atari 26, the Pac-Man, combat with the bitch. Right. I go open the first one came out, had to turn the TV to channel 3. Right. You know what I mean? Oh, I had to go to 4 sometimes. So when the games came out, that was my first experience and knowledge with thinking about investing or something like that. From a father who he didn't have education past the 8th grade. But a lot of men in the South, you could go and work on the fields. You didn't need a lot of education. Middle class was good. I used to think $50,000 was a lot of money. And back in 75, and that was,
yeah.
That was a lot of money.
Right.
Brownstone in 75, I think my parents' house was $170,000.
Wow.
So everything was fine, but evolution, things started to evolve. I started to get older. I did not graduate high school. Let me tell you why. Once again, my basketball prowess. I wasn't a knucklehead in school. I just didn't attend class enough. I remember getting a UW. You didn't. It's an unauthorized withdrawal because you didn't even show up enough to get graded.
Right.
I can't even fail you.
Right.
It's because me hanging out in the hallways, cutting class, going to other high schools, trying to be a ladies' man. And, because I got my name in the paper. I'm Brian Gaffney, Maple Dean, I got 39 points,
Used to walk around with the paper.
Yeah.
You see my name? That's my
name. Laminated, that's me right there, Right. So, just being a knucklehead. But once again, basketball saved me. Basketball, we were playing a game, and I'll tell you a quick story. We were playing against Art and Design. And Art and Design had a tall guy. His name was Mike something. They used to call him Mike-O-Matic. And he was a college prospect. Colleges were coming to the games to see him. And a few, their team they were 6-0, and we were 6-0. I went to a small high school, Maple Dean Bacon Vocational High School. Back then, where vocations, you could go to high school and get a vocation. Electrical, cosmetology, business, dentistry. Why all these things not in school anymore? Because you can come out of high school and now you can go into the workforce without wanting to go to college.
Right.
But these
they
things
don't want that.
These things are why you want to just disable us. So, but back to Mike, we were both 6-0. This was the last game before the marking period ended. So I knew I underperformed. Once again, this was the best team we had. 5 guys from Bed-Stuy, Ronald, Lacey, Troy, myself, and one other guy. I forgot his name. Forgive me if you're seeing this. But we were meeting at the Pinnacle. We were going to decide who was the best in the division. And colleges, it was a packed gym, and people came to see the game. I know that we knew they were coming to see him, but we knew who we wanted them to leave thinking about,
Right.
and that was us.
Right.
You know, and I had a good game. Not a lot of points. I think around 18, but they were powerful points. You know, I remember having Patrick Ewing. Patrick Ewing had Adidas. I remember I had on a pair of blue and orange. Oh, those Knicks colors. It makes me shiver. I don't like the Knicks because of James Dolan, but
Wow.
you know,
That's another story.
yeah. That's a whole other podcast right there. You know, so I remember it was a fast break. It was an inbounds play, and I remember like yesterday. My friend Ice does too, and there was an inbounds play, and I just got the ball, and it was mano a mano. It wasn't him. It was another guy. And I was known I was a jumper. And he jumped and I jumped. He went up and I kept going up. You know, we met and smash. Dunked it the whole arena. Oh, people were jumping out the stands and going crazy. And it was that play. We were in the locker room and I knew I was going to fail off the team the next day. Because of that marking period, I was going to have to do 6 months after my senior year. So I wasn't going to graduate on time with my class. Right. And, you know, so it was a high and it was a low at the same time. My coach, you know, he just retired. We went to his retirement celebration maybe 2 years ago, you know, Coach Montanero. But it was that moment where college recruits came to start to talk to me. I didn't have any real interest until then. You know, we had a few schools, Vermont and Maine, things like that. I'm not going up there in the cold. I don't know these people. I don't know where I'm going. And then I didn't have any mentorship. Nobody told me. Nobody was able to guide me. My brother couldn't. My sister couldn't. The ones you love, my mother, my father, they weren't college educated. So I didn't have anyone to trust. And sometimes you're afraid of things you don't know about. You didn't know what was behind the door. Right. No one could comfort me. So here I am. We're in the locker room. We're celebrating. We got the victory. And all of a sudden, 2 men want to talk to me. So they came in and they said, Brian, you know, have you thought about college? I said, yeah, I think about it all the time, but, you know, I haven't had any real interest. You know, we're interested. You know, some guys from FIT, you know, Fashion Institute of Technology. But, you know, as a kid, anybody showing interest and they want to give you a free ride to the college. And, you know, me, I'm young, 16, 17. Fashion Institute, there's a lot of girls there. I might do okay there, you know. So that was my first college interest. And that was also when I realized that I wasn't going to do my senior year in high school. And they explained to me, and a few other colleges came up after me and said, why do your senior year, why do 6 months more? You could just take your GED and you can enroll in college in the fall. You can take your GED now, pass, enroll in the fall, and your scholarship will kick in. So I came, talked about it to my parents. You know, of course, they didn't know. Are you sure? You know, so we did a little research, And that's what happened. I didn't graduate high school. I chose to take that route. And I got into college. And it was there when I lost that scholarship. I didn't choose FIT. I ended up choosing LIU because, once again, the basketball prowess, thank God for putting it in my hand. We were playing in a local tournament, West 4th Street. I was making a name for myself. And one of my brother's friends who went to Long Island University, Brent McCullum, I remember this. We were playing basketball in the park. Yeah, you know, I'm 17, I'm 18. I was at the peak of my prowess, and I was doing what I do, just dunking it. Oh my God, brother, Eric, your brother is nice, man. What school is he going to? He's like, he said he's going to FIT. It's like, are you kidding me? I'm not gonna let you go to FIT. Come down to LIU. Just come down and play ball. We play ball on Mondays, and I'll have the assistant coaches come and watch. I had the GED in my hand. I told Brent when I was doing. He's like, good, you ready? Came down, played ball. It was nothing. It was just what I did. You played ball. I did what I did, you know. And one of the assistant coaches, after he saw 2 or 3 more, Brian, come here. Said, seen enough. This is where you want to be. You got your GED. You can't play your first year. You're gonna redshirt, and your scholarship will kick in. Came home, told my parents. We immediately looking at LIU catalog. I didn't have to go away because I was afraid. It's a mama's boy. You know, here's another principle that I want to share. The worst thing you can do for someone is something that they can do for themselves. The worst, my parents did so much for me. I was unable to do a lot of things for myself. So my comfort was basketball. I could do that, you know? And I learned that I have to do things for myself. I got to do things for myself. But it wasn't until I lost the scholarship. We can talk a podcast about, life on campus, your first year on campus, what to expect, the mindset going in, how to prepare. I have kids now. My daughter is a senior in City Tech. My son is a junior in Oswego State, New York. I just prepped. I just got it. By all means, enjoy yourself. But by all means, you're here for a reason. That's the reason. That's your why.
Right.
But I would never tell you don't enjoy yourself. Life is networking. Life is building friendships. Life is learning new things, experimenting. Finding out who you are as a person. So I want to get right to the point where my life changed financially, because that's why I'm here. When I lost my scholarship, like I said, I had UWs in college also, because all I did, you can get older, but I didn't grow. I grew older in age chronologically, but I didn't grow intellectually. Right. So another principle is talent will take you places where only character can sustain you. Talent was taking me places, but I had no character.
Right.
I had no work ethic. I had no desire. I had no commitment to anything, because I was just skating by. I didn't need an 85. It didn't make any sense to me. 85, I have a 75, or you have a 95, and we're in the same class. There's only two people. You got the valedictorian, and you have a salutatorian after that. It didn't matter. I'm in the same class. Plus, I'm blinded by popularity. So you have the best grades and nobody knows you. Right. I have the decent grades and I'm loved. So this is a mindset. It's a poor philosophy, that you can walk through life with, and that's what I did, because it didn't appear to be a problem. Teachers were okay, right. And when I went to LIU, my first year, I did well. I made the all newcomer team. Out of 100 new kids that played basketball, I was the top 5. I made a name for myself. And I really wanted to play in front of all of these people, so I was going to class. I wanted to do well. But then the old me showed up in my sophomore year, back to thinking that I'm the man and I can just skate through. No, you got to work here, buddy. Right. You got to do the work. And girlfriend once again, and I was reluctant to do the work. It wasn't like I couldn't. It was just that I didn't have the why. I didn't make the connection. I didn't know the value that I had, and no one in my family could talk me through it, could say, yeah, you could do this. And I look back now, and no one in my neighborhood went away to college. No one graduated. I knew one guy, I won't say his name. He went to Oklahoma for a little while. He used to ride a bike. He had really big legs, and he had a smooth jump shot. I would listen to him. He said, man, you got it. But he had a drug, not addiction, but he casually used drugs. So I was looking for the pristine model to follow, someone who I could believe him, and I never had it in life. You don't know it as a kid. You realize it now. You look back, and I try to trace my steps. Who could have advised me? That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I want to help people. I want to guide you. I want to let you know the opportunities you have and the pitfalls to watch for, and that brings me a satisfaction to know that I've laid some groundwork for somebody else, so they won't, fall or succumb to the things I did. Right. So I lost my scholarship. I lost my scholarship, and that's when I came to the point of being contrite, being broken enough to sit still, to just realize everything that I had, and it all just disappeared. The ball stopped bouncing. The ball stopped bouncing. My name fell on the ground. It used to be blazed in light, and my name fell on the ground. And that's when you got to go in the workforce, man. No college. I mean, what skill sets do you have? You didn't go to college and get a degree where somebody's going to pay you to do something for them. Right. So what can I do? What can I do? I'm 23 years old. I'm sitting in my father's and my mother's house, and I don't know what to do. Mm-hmm. I'm depressed beyond. I'm smoking marijuana. I'm drinking beers. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to drown my hurt.
Right.
But it only magnified it.
Right.
It only made it more clear that I'm lost. And my father let me play in the mud for about a week or two, maybe a month. Mm-hmm. He said, hey, he said, I know you went through some things, and but you got to get a job, And he said, I can guarantee you one thing: it's not upstairs. Mm-hmm. You're gonna have to go outside,
right?
Get it together, and go look for some work. And this was back in the day where you had to go and fill out applications, King's Plaza, all the stores, upstairs, downstairs. I went to Broadway, upstairs, downstairs, any place I could think. I remember going to downtown Manhattan where they used to have the job postings, and they would have the title and the requirements, and they would have the salary. So I'm like, wow, I can, I felt like I could do anything, because I could just do anything, but I don't have the experience. And the pay was high. And then you go down to maintenance and things that didn't require like experience, the pay was lower, but the requirements were less. So this is when things started to like happen for me. Wow, I'm in trouble, So I took a job. I took a job in the warehouse, and it was then when I started to develop work ethic. I started to realize that I had to be committed. My mind started to switch, like, look at my manager. Every time there's a problem, everybody goes to her. I remember there was an issue in the store, and it just dawned on me, we all had to go to her, and she could solve it. And I'm like, I want to be a boss one day. I want to solve problems.
Right.
I realize now that all problems are opportunities. All problems are opportunities. So I ended up leaving that job, and I was blessed. I took a lot of city exams because I wasn't making enough. My father said, 2 kings can't rule the same castle. So two kings can't rule the same castle. So, I realized then I had to get my own. And I thank God that I was hired as a New York City bus operator. I really wanted to be a court officer. But I said, you know what I like? I like to drive. I've always been a good driver. I think I can drive. People say, you drive the bus? Yeah, I like to drive. Driving is comforting to me. Now with so many cars and, so many lives being changed by, driving an Uber and so on, the streets are more congested. There's a lot more, traffic in the streets, but it's still comforting to me. It's a peace of mind. I have a lot of downtime at lights and stuff like that, so I still like it. And this is also when I found out what I wanted to do with life. And I know we brought me here to talk about credit, and that's exactly where we're going to get to.
So, but not to cut you off right there, but I will cut you off right there. We're going to take a little break right now, and we will come back and get into more of the Brian Gaffney story.
All right.
I think it was very important for that intro to sort of set the groundwork based on your experience and what brought you to where you are right now.
The disappointment.
So we're going to get back into that in a minute. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone, to the conversation. As I mentioned earlier, I'm here with Mr. Brian Gaffney. We just went through a little bit of his bio, the whole intro, to really set the groundwork and lay the foundation for his story and actually why he's here today to discuss credit repair and whatnot. And, as we were talking off camera, it was those experiences that sort of shed light on what you did not know and what you needed to learn. So talk a little bit about that and, how you got into credit repair.
Excellent. Yep. It was, like I said, I took the job as a New York City bus operator, and it was around my 15th year of employment when I realized that I was getting ready to retire in 10 years. In 10 years, and I had bought a home, I had gotten married, I had, I leased a car, I had everyday living expenses. And I realized in 10 years, I'm going to retire. And I'm then going to be on a fixed income. And that's when it dawned on me. Oh, snap. You know, I'm going to still have a mortgage. I'm going to have all of these expenses. And I'm only going to get this amount of money at the end of the month. And that's when the urgency hit. And that's when I said, I need to generate an additional income. And you got my background in school. I never disliked school. I was always a reader. I loved to read. History and English were my favorite classes. So I think it was a Carlton Sheets infomercial around 2:00 in the morning. I think that everybody has seen or heard of Carlton Sheets,
right.
You know, and he was talking about real estate investing with no money down. You know, that was my a eureka moment. No money down. I like that. That was my language. How am I going to do that with no money down?
Right.
So, you know, of course, I listened to it. I knew a friend who bought it, and that was the starting point of how I got into credit repair, how I got into real estate investing. I didn't buy the Carlton Sheets program. What I did was went to libraries and I kind of talked to people. You know, I would talk to people. You know, I'd see what aisle they were in. And I would ask them, what's a good book to read about this? What's a good book? I would go to Barnes & Nobles and just hang out, you know, what's a good book? And these are some of the books that people introduced me to. One was Think and Grow Rich, a black choice, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, The Richest Man in Babylon. These were the books that got me started. I think Rich Dad, Poor Dad had the most powerful impact on my life out of all the books, and Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill and Dennis Kimbrough, The Revision. Those were the two books which gave me the principles that changed my life. And it was Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad and the Cash Flow Quadrant, which showed me which side of the quadrant I was on, which was the employee side, and why I was taking all of my hard-earned money. And I remember the principle I spoke about earlier when my father said, I don't know if I said, don't throw good money at bad money. Because my father would gamble a little bit. You know, back in the day, we used to play the numbers and they used to bet on the horses at Aqueduct, you know, and he wanted to, you know, warn me about the pitfalls. When you win, yeah. But when you lose, yeah.
Right.
You know, so he was, hey, don't throw good money at bad money. These are things he taught me when I was younger. But when I read the Cash Flow Quadrant, Robert Kiyosaki, and I saw that all of my hard-earned income, every day I'm grinding 9, 10, 11 hours a day just to pay for my living expenses and keep a little change for myself, was an absolute poor business model to create wealth, and let alone generational wealth. It was also the reading of the Bible. When I lost my scholarship, I was the worst point of my life. And I remember my mom used to take me to Sunday school, and I knew of God. I knew of a Savior. I knew of it. I just followed in principle. But when I really called, that's when I got the revelation, and I got a relationship with Jesus Christ, and the Bible became alive to me. The principles became alive to me. The word became alive to me. That's when life started for me, at the bottom, when you didn't have anything else. So it was those books. It was me realizing and having an urgency now. Now I had a why. Why am I going to work? I'm going to work so I can save money to buy a house, to buy a rental property, because a rental property will give me an additional income. I could now have my pension and now have a rental property that could equal, that could match, that could surpass, and the biblical principle, I could leave an inheritance for my kids' kids.
Right.
So that's when I drove with a different understanding. I worked with a different urgency. I was building now. I wasn't just going to work to get to money. Now I'm building. Now the understanding and my mindset totally shifted. I can never go back to just looking for a job because it's a poor business model. I can never go back. And credit repair, I got into credit repair because I needed to get my credit repaired. No one in high school, no one ever talked about credit. When I was my freshman year on college campus, Long Island University, passing the bursar's office, Here they are, two people sitting down with visas, with pens and hats, saying that you can get or immediately qualify for $1,500. That was my first. I got a credit card. You have a credit card, but you don't got a job.
Very important.
You got credit, but how are you going to pay it back?
Right.
And what are the recompenses of having bad credit or getting bad credit or not being able to pay the credit card back? We didn't know. I had a stipend. That was a little income. Of course, I didn't work for it. It was coming. I could pay it back like that.
Right.
You know, you're just gambling. So that's where I first experienced credit, and that's where the credit problem happened. So I didn't realize it until I went to apply for a car loan, and I went to apply for a line of credit because I wanted to buy a real estate property, or I wanted to help with the expenses based on some books I've read. And, you know, this is the revelation. I realized I had bad credit. It wasn't terrible, but it was low 604, 615, 620. Wasn't terrible. And I couldn't get the loan. So my dreams were on hold. It created another urgency for me. I got to get my credit. So it led me to start to look to get the credit repaired. So I reached out to a few people, and this is very recent. I looked out to a few people online. Facebook was around, Instagram was around, and I found a young woman on Instagram who talked to me. She was a credit specialist. So I reached out to her, you know, a few times. I watched her, followed her, and I ended up reaching out to her. And it was this woman who introduced me to the company who I now work with. I'm not only a client, I'm also a representative because they revolutionized, you know, the way what I knew about credit. And now I'm able to teach. I'm able to help. My credit is now at a optimal level, you know, because I have the education behind it. This is where the educational system is greatly flawed. You know, people are, you have no idea what credit is in high school. Even in college, still have adults. I have adult clients that don't know how credit is created. They don't know how to repair it. They don't know how it works. And it's not your fault. This is what I tell people. It's not your fault.
Never taught that.
You were never taught. So you were never taught about it. So not only did I find the person who repaired the credit, she also said that there's an opportunity to be a consultant. And as a consultant, you now have your own business. And this is a business model that I think every average man, that guy next door should have, is a multi-level marketing business. Because it allows you to not have to be the boss of everything. All you have to do is expose somebody else's products. There's a rap band back in the day called Naughty by Nature. They had a song out called OPP, Other People's Property. And this is the business model that I've followed. I use other people's products. I use other people's money. I use bank money. I use another private company to help me fix my credit. I use real estate experts of realtors. I call realtors and I tell them the deals that I want, the money I could spend, the credit I have, the proof of funds, and they do the work for me. You know, these are things that I learned on my own. Now, fast forward 3 years after I got started, after the revelation hit me. Now I'm a credit repair specialist. I help people repair credit all around the country. I have access to, but I've decided to just refine my skills and work right in the Brooklyn area. There's low-hanging fruit right here. I don't have to go anywhere. I just have to get out to the people. Right. You know, a lot of companies say, you can promote all over the country. I like to sit down with my client. I like to talk to them.
So when we talk about credit repair, what is it? What does it entail?
Credit repair is roughly a FICO score. A FICO score is basically a report card. I like to simplify it. It's like a report card. And it consists of your purchase history. It consists of the amount of bills that you have, the amount of expenses that you have. These are the two biggest pieces. 30% is your credit history, your purchase history. 35% is the amount that you owe. So 65% of it is, what have you done over the last 3 years? And how much money do you actually have available to pay back if we give you credit? This is what banks want to see. Banks and lenders just want to see if you're able to pay us back. So a credit score is basically a quick snapshot of what you've done over the last 3 to 7 years. And it gives them a snapshot in time of, can they lend you money? They don't have anything against you. They just want to see.
Right.
You know, you have 3 credit bureaus, and these are not government-run companies. These
I don't want to cut you off there, but as I was researching for the show, I found that out. I did not know that.
Yeah.
So pay attention to that. That's very important.
Yeah, they're not government agencies. They're not hired by the government. They're private companies, and they can put things on your credit report that's not necessarily a legitimate claim. It's not necessarily a legitimate claim, but if you don't know that you can contest it, you just think that what's on your credit report is permanent, and it's totally not true. You know, once again, you're not educated, so how would you know?
Right.
How would you know? So
I actually have a few statements that I wanted to say to you, because a lot of people have misconceptions about this, and really tell us what's true and what's false.
Okay.
So
Best of my knowledge.
the first one, and I think you already answered this, the credit bureaus are not government agencies and make up their own rules about what they report.
They're not. Yeah, that's true.
Right. Legally, what the credit bureaus report about you amounts to no more than allegations.
That's true.
Without a hearing, a trial, notification, or even telling you about it, credit bureaus throw you into sort of, or categorize you as a bad
lender. Yeah. A bad prospect for lending. Yeah. Without notification.
And they can hold you in sort of credit prison for 7 years when one of your creditors reports something derogatory about you, like a late payment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. These are all true. That's a good list you have.
The 7-year penalty they impose on you is an arbitrary amount of time.
Yeah, that's just the number. That's just an arbitrary number. Just like you said, that's the perfect word, because, you know, it's totally false. Totally false. You can contest and you can dispute any item on your credit report. Any item on your credit report can be disputed and should be disputed. But most people are just under the notion that credit scores are true. So it's just like going to a doctor's office. You come in, I sit down, you sit down, doctor says, well, how can I help you today? It's the same way with your credit. It doesn't matter where your credit is. All credit can be repaired. Everything on your credit report can be and should be disputed.
So if there's something on your credit that's legitimate, should you contest that also?
If it's legitimate and it's reflecting negatively, you should contest it, absolutely.
Okay.
Because maybe one thing that I see is college debt and medical bills. Medical bills can be removed. College debt, if you're not paying it, it's going to reflect negatively. So we'll go in and we'll dispute it. If it's a legit claim, then we could get it updated so it won't reflect on your credit score negatively. If it's a college bill, maybe you have it, maybe it's laid dormant. Maybe you're just trying to turn your back on it and hopefully it'll go away. It's not going away. Right. You may not be able to pay the $300, $400, $500, $100 or $200 that they're recommending you to pay, but maybe you can say, I want this to reflect on my credit score in a positive way and negotiate and say, I can give you $75 every month. That's all you need to get your credit score to not reflect negatively. But now, just pay a smaller amount. That way, it'll have a positive effect on your credit report. 2, it'll actually help your debt to income because now you'll start to make a small payment. Your credit history now it won't reflect negatively. It'll start to reflect positively, and to your own surprise, 30 to 50 points on a credit score is a major improvement. And a late payment sometimes can be 5 up to 30 points.
Really?
Just by missing a Macy's payment. You got a Macy's card in Christmas time, and you forgot to pay it. Oh, it hit in February.
Right.
After 30 days, a late payment, it probably won't hit. But after 45 days, it's going to reflect on your credit score. So by the time you get a card in Christmas, and by the time February comes, if you haven't addressed it, it's going to reflect on your credit score. And depending on the amount, it could reflect 5 points. It could reflect 30 points. And that could take you from being in good standing with a nice 720 or back down to 670, 660. You know, that could slow down your lending possibilities.
So when someone sits down with you to get services for credit repair, what's the process? Like, what do you need from them in order to really be able to service them?
Well, one, I ask everybody the same process. You know, do you know what your current credit score is? Do you know what's helping your credit score? And do you know what's hurting your credit score? You know, if you can answer all three of those, most likely you just need to someone to work on your behalf, to write your dispute letters for you, to represent you. If you can't do it yourself, or you want to save some time, most people can't answer those three. So then I go about, you know, telling them what we do. We dispute all three bureaus at the same time. Other companies who charge a lot more than what we do can only dispute 2 items at a time, and from one bureau. So we're able to dispute all three bureaus at the same time in one shot. This is how the majority of our clients see such fast results. You know, we've had millions of items removed from people's credit reports. We have so many testimonies of people just seeing a huge change in a matter of 60 to 90 days. You know, and that's how it. And before I say too much, everybody's situation is different. Because people are like, how long should it take?
Right.
You know, I owe less than you. I don't have a lot of as many negative items as you. My debt to income is low, but my credit history my payment history is great because I automate, and that's a tip that people can use. Automate your revolving debt. If you have a mortgage, if you have credit cards, whatever you're paying monthly, automate it so you don't have to think about it. So now every month it comes out of your check. Right. So now you know it's paid. So this will keep your credit history in great shape.
Wow.
You know,
dropping jewels here. So how early should someone start to build their credit?
That's a good question. I would recommend at age 17 or 18, you know, and this varies. You know, some people may say that's too early, or may say it's too late. Right. But I would say when you start to become responsible about finances, as soon as you get your first job, start to be concerned about your credit. As early as parents are talking to their kids about finances, definitely talk to them about credit. When you start talking about allowance, when they ask for allowance, start talking to them about credit. Just plant the seed of credit and the necessity of it later on in life, so they'll always have it on their mind. That might affect my credit, because you want to educate your kids, and you want them to be ready for adulting. That's the new word. Right. Before they actually have to. So I would say 17 or 18. 17. Put them if one of your credit cards is in good standing, put them on your card as a joint user. They don't have access to the card, but they'll start to generate credit because they're on a credit card. That's one of the ways that I've helped my kids. Okay. You know, they're both on one of my credit cards, and I keep it in great shape. So as soon as they're ready to start utilizing their credit, they'll already have it.
Okay. And what is the major difference between having a credit card and having a line of credit?
That's a good question too. A credit card is a revolving credit. It's a revolving credit that you use and you pay it back monthly for personal use. A line of credit is just like a credit card, but it's used for business expenses. It's used for business expenses, not for personal use. Okay. So if you have a business and you have a line of credit, You could use it just like a credit card. You could use it. Say I have real estate properties. I use my business line for repairs. I use my business line to pay for property management. I use my business line to say I'm going to do some renovations. I'm doing a flip. So I'll use my business line to pay for some of the repairs. So instead of me going out and borrowing $25,000 and having to pay it back in one lump sum, I'll go and use a business line of $25,000, and I only have to pay back $400 a month.
Right.
So over the time of a flip, let's say 3 months, I've only spent out of my pocket $1,200. You know, so by the time then when I put the property on the market, you know, I don't have to pay back the $25,000 out of my pocket. I can pay it back from the profit. So now I've only used $1,200, and I've had the total buying power of the $25,000, and I made a profit of $40,000. So it's a $15,000 profit out of thin air.
Right.
That never came out of my pocket. You know, it was other people's money.
Right.
And I keep the numbers low because that's where I am. But the principles are the same. We live in New York. You see towers being built. They're not using their own money.
Right.
They're going to the bank and saying, we're going to erect this building. Apartments are going to be from $3,000, has 46 units. We need $10 million. Right. The building, even at 75% capacity, is going to make $800,000 a month. You know, and it's all math. It's the same principle. You're using other people's money. You're getting a developer. He's using, and it's the same math. The people up, and Robert Kiyosaki broke it down. And this is where I stand. And I would recommend everybody, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and the cash flow quadrant. You know, other people's money. So you use other people's money and you buy a property, and your tenants are paying for it.
Right.
No, so I have rental properties. I have 6 rental properties, you know, that I use other people's money for. The tenants are paying for it, and after the expenses, I keep the change. Right. You know, and you talked about generational wealth. Now, when I'm gone, my kids, my LLC is in my kids' name. It's already in their name. Right. Because I'm showing them this is what you have to do. A business principle is be fruitful and multiply. Genesis 1:28. Be fruitful, multiply, subdue, have dominion. Right. And I cannot multiply my job. Can't pass it on, can't give it to anybody. Network marketing, now I can go out and help and empower as many people as I can and say you should help people learn financial literacy. You can help people fix their credit, and you can make a handsome living about it. And when they help somebody, I get paid. And you should build you a team of consultants also. And when your team helps, the money comes up. Every man should have a network marketing business. Every woman, just not gender. Everyone should have it, because now I go to transit, I make my salary. Now when I leave transit, I go out and help people. I put something on the post. Who wants to get perfect credit by in 6 months? Yeah, I do.
Yeah, who doesn't want that?
Yeah, come on. You know, and then I post about a real estate property. Now I've got a good relationship with a real estate broker, and I say, listen, what about the referral fees, buddy? I'm getting a little business savvy. Now I'm giving you qualified buyers. I'm helping them with their credit. I'm teaching them what real estate is about. I'm giving you the tools, my playbook to the market. I'm showing you this is how much I make a month. You know, so he's like, that's a good idea. So we started the Brooklyn to Baltimore pipeline. He's in Baltimore, I'm in New York. So now I'm sending him customers, and I get a kickback. So one, I'm empowering my people. One, I'm shedding a light on some very simple things in life, but can make a huge difference. Right. One, I'm sharing the message that if you can't multiply it, it's not a good business model. It's not a good generational wealth building tool. Your job only benefits you when you're there. The moment you stop working, your money stops. If you have a job, when you stop working, your money stops, that's a problem. Right. I want to own the subways. I don't want to work in subways. If I make $100,000 in subways, I'd rather make $60,000 in subways and employ somebody, pay them the $40,000 so I can continue to duplicate.
Right.
It's just a model. And you look around, you see it all over. You know, you have to duplicate. If you cannot duplicate it, it's not really a good business model. So definitely network marketing for the small average man. You got a job, it cost me $300. I got that back in a month. You know, my mom, my friend, my cousin, I have no expenses. Right. You know, so it's a great business model. Real estate investing, you don't cost a lot of money. You get good credit, $10,000. You're in the game. You're in the game. Then you can go about learning. Real artificial intelligence everywhere.
Right. It's at your fingertips.
Trulia, Zillow, Realtor.com, you know, Instagram. You find people, realtors. You just put the word in, realtors in New York City. Everything is connected now. Everything.
One last question I wanted to ask you. Is it detrimental to have credit and not use it?
No, it's not detrimental, but it's not beneficial either. Because creditors and lenders want to see you using and paying back. That's how they make money. You know, having a credit line, it looks good on paper, but they don't make money until you use money. When you use money, that's when, you know, you pay back with interest, and that's how they make money. So it's okay if you want to show it. You know, I got good credit. You know you're about to buy something, or maybe you won't, but when you show good credit, you're going to get the money. Now you're going to get the money and hold on to it. Money is currency. It should continue to work for you. Put your money to work. Don't blow your money. Like my pop said, don't throw good money at bad. Don't go out and have nights of leisure. You know, what are you celebrating though? You know?
Exactly.
What are you celebrating? Celebrate victory. Celebrate an asset.
Right.
Celebrate, you know, if you want to, do something small. Don't blow $1,000 on a night of just for memories. Take the pictures, show pictures of your bank account. Celebrate that. I made it to 10 G's. You know, I got 25 grand, you know.
Take pictures of your bank account.
Yeah. Celebrate that. Let's see who got the biggest bank account. You know.
Mr. Gaffney, thank you, sir, for sitting down and having this discussion and conversation. It was very enlightening. And again, I think it was important for you to lay the ground story of your background and your history to where it got you today. I think that's very important. And again, he's every man. The dude next door, the guy down the street, you know what I'm saying? You know, so again, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And if people wanted to get in contact with you to get some services, or at least have a conversation, how could they do that?
I'm glad you asked that, because I want people to get in contact with you. I want people to get in contact with you. I want them to let you know that they're listening and that what they heard, it was helpful.
Yes.
So when they get in contact with you, you'll show them how to get to me.
Okay. There you go.
So
I like that.
You can't get to me until you get to this man, because he's the one making the difference.
Wow. See? I like that business model. That's how I'm looking at it, as a business model.
Absolutely.
You put some things in my mind for me to think about personally. And so definitely, again, thank you. And everyone out there, really pay attention to what this man has said tonight. I think it was very impactful and it's powerful. And we need to prepare not for our children, but for our children's children, and further, and all that good stuff. Generational wealth.
Think about it. What can you leave your kids?
Right. Exactly. You can't leave them a job. You
can't leave them a job. Money is going to be a block of ice. If they don't know how to utilize money or put it to work, it's going to just start to melt. Let alone they'll buy a big purchase.
Right.
It's just going to like a snow cone. As soon as you retire, you don't have any money coming in, you're going to start scraping it.
Yep.
And then when you don't have anything else,
that's it. You don't want to be old, broke, and sick. So,
and your kids that won't take care of you. So,
exactly.
But
once again, thank you everyone for tuning in for the conversation. I am Roger Franco. Be sure to check for us every Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern. That's my timer going off. Only on madeforkings.com. Thank you.